I saw segment on, I forget what news station here locally in Atlanta, where they were talking about people who actually have Section 8 vouchers but cannot find anywhere to live because landlords are not accepting Section 8 vouchers. Like, what is going on? Like, why are they not accepting Section 8 vouchers? Since when do landlords not accept Section 8 vouchers? Are they not getting paid? Are the tenants too much? Like, what is the rationale behind not accepting Section 8? That used to be the golden goose for landlords, to get a Section 8 tenant, because you knew you were going to get paid on the first. Like, why are landlords out here now? How many of y'all have heard about this? Weigh in the comments.
The Southeast region is going through a major gentrification wave, and Section 8 is being left out due to the stigma that it has. Not even the facts, just the stigma. People with Section 8 can no longer live in these type of neighborhoods. Section 8 is becoming a thing of the past. The hood is no longer the hood. For example, in this neighborhood, houses can be as much as $900,000 or more. This neighborhood used to be on the FBI most dangerous neighborhoods list. And now, fast forward, it is prestigious. And these houses can cost as much as $900K or more in this particular neighborhood. But through the landlords all throughout the city, they're not welcoming to Section 8 like they once was. Not just in neighborhoods like these, just all throughout the Southeast. It's a crisis going on. Now, this has been going on for some years in Charlotte. I'll say at least back to 2017, where the city was going through something whereas rents were steady rising, and as rents steady rising, you had a good cash tenant. So therefore, landlords did not want to accept Section 8 tenants. Now, if you know anything about real estate, Section 8 tenants was once the preferred tenants because it meant you had got guaranteed money from the government. You didn't have to worry about an excuse about not getting your rent because the government pays you. So people at one point would prefer a Section 8 tenant. Well, that's not the thing today. People are turning them around. And this is going through all throughout the Southeast where this is happening. As you've seen in the articles on the screen, this has even made it to the media. I remember back in 2018, Section 8, the office in Charlotte was telling tenants, hey, you gotta start going on the outskirts of the city into another county to look at landlords that are accepting it, because typically this is the private market, right? So this is the private sector. What I mean by the private sector, the landlords could deny taking Section 8. They could say, hey, oh no, we don't accept Section 8. It's not a protected class at this particular point, okay? Especially in these cities in the Southeast. So therefore, being that a lot of these landlords are not accepting Section 8, you're getting a wave of new money, and the people with the vouchers are left out like, yo, where do I go? For the most part, my personal experience with Section 8, let's talk about it, right? With a cash tenant, I had terrible experiences. With cash tenants, I have great experiences. So it's typically the same. It's based off your screening process if you will get a good tenant or not. Now, with my one Section 8 tenant, well, I'm gonna say a good story. A good story was I had a Section 8 tenant, housing project that they were living in got shut down, so they had to move out, and they had a voucher that was 100%, meaning that the voucher covered 100% of their rent. And I had a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house. And I remember going there, and for whatever reason, and this is, some people might call it a stereotype, but when somebody has a 100% voucher, they normally have like 8 people living with them. Normally it's the mother, the siblings, and everything. It's like, hey, she don't pay rent, we just live at her spot, whatever. So that was taking place at first, right? But they weren't breaking anything. It was just more people in the lease that should be. Now, it's up to you to say something. In the situation I was in the neighborhood I was in at the time, you don't want to vacate house. And it's not like you're gonna get a grade A tenant in this particular house. And this woman turned out to be one of my best tenants. I swear, she turned out to be one of my best tenants, man, ever. And I actually brag about her because after renting my house from 2009 to like 2018, after like 7 to 8 years of being there, she went out and bought a house. Like, she used the system, what it was for, used the program, what it was for, to get a leg up in life, and bought a house. And, that's a good story. But of course I had a story whereas, I had some Section 8 tenants, they got in there, they tore it up, right? But that's my experience. That doesn't sum up all people, right? That all of them are bad, because they're not. It just goes on your screening process. And with some landlords, it's gotta be real, like, yo, bro, sometimes a particular house or a particular neighborhood is gonna attract a particular tenant. A tenant that has a 700 credit score is probably not gonna come to the side of town where there's a bunch of crime. That tenant has options, but so therefore you gotta understand that certain things attract certain things. So just like you get a bad Section 8 tenant, you can get a bad cash tenant because that neighborhood just attracts that type of behavior. Man, my personal opinion, bro, is like this. Me being a minority in America, sometimes I am lumped in because of somebody else might have had a bad experience with a black person. Now I'm lumped in that, I didn't shoot anybody, I didn't kill anybody, I didn't rob anybody, but because they might seen somebody else have that bad experience, now they say we all did it. And a lot of us come from those type of neighborhoods or have those experiences, and that they look at black people like they all come from one environment and we're all fungible items. We're not fungible items. You have black people who come from wealth, who come from great neighborhoods, etc. And you have people who come from the inner city or a lower income neighborhood. That's just a part of life. Just like you have white people who come from lower income neighborhoods or come from good neighborhoods. We're people, we're not fungible items. So with the Section 8 crisis that we're going to, I don't think it's right that they're getting stereotyped because of, you might have had a bad experience with a Section 8 tenant. Not all the Section 8 tenants done it, but that's what we're going through. Another thing a lot of landlords talk about behind closed doors is that Section 8, they actually do this yearly inspection. And with that yearly inspection, right, if the tenant breaks or the tenant breaks something, you gotta fix it, or if the siding breaks, you gotta fix it. And sometimes the private sector can call that like irritating, like, man, I don't wanna deal with that. The reason why I don't want to deal with that is because of if the vinyl siding cracks outside and nothing is affected, I don't want to have to replace that. Section 8, they do their inspection when the tenant first moves in and yearly inspection. But let me tell you this, those inspections do be a headache because they will ding you for like the stupidest stuff. I mean, a crack on the vinyl outside that's not messing with the integrity of the house. The refrigerator has a dent in it, like things like that. But they're like, yo, the refrigerator works, but they'll ding you. Some investors are saying, hey, listen, I don't want to deal with that, man. But what I want you to do, man, is just, what's your opinion on Section 8? Do you think this is okay? But I do think the solution is, man, instead of complaining, man, maybe won't you buy a house, get out there and buy a house, man, and rent it out and say, hey, listen, I'm accepting all people, not just people with cash, people with Section 8 vouchers are welcome. And, just go through your screening process and just get your own experience, man, with dealing with a Section 8 tenant. Now, what I want you to do now, click on that video next to me, man. Like, I'm gonna be talking about the secret plan of America because there's some people out here that don't want you to own, man. Listen, I'm Nasa, AKA the real estate guru. I'm not a guru, I'm a doer because I actually do this business.